thank you for this third session of the day. We will be continuing our discussion on the subject of matter, even if it's just one little angle of a very broad subject. That is a subject at hand today, that is understanding the design process, understanding also the change of the design practice in the consideration of the interaction of designers and machines and computer. So, Patrick, let's sit down. Let's get ourselves very comfortable. And before you start and before you get us your perspective, I would like just to tell that we know each other for very long, but we were just discussing at lunch.
Long.
Well, okay. We're not going to tell anyone our age, certainly not me. What I was very, very in this little world of the Milano Design Week, I didn't know, and I got this anecdote just lately, but I had a similar one, is the fact that the first time you came, it was in '95. You drove to Milano. You were a young designer. You wanted to be there. It's a place to be as a designer. And you actually didn't have another opportunity than just sleep in your car.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is really typical of the passion that designers are basically carrying on here in Milano. So before I let you start, I'm just looking at, okay. I would like just to read your bio. I'm going to read it because I just don't want to make any mistakes. So everybody knows Patrick Jouin is a designer. He's probably one of the most famous designers, French designer. He's known all over the place, and I'm going to tell you why. First, he's an industrial designer, but he's also working with an architect, interior architect. You make a connection, and now you are working together. Mm-hmm. So you both do design and architecture. You are also being associating with very important editors in the world of design, typically exceptional project for Cassina, Cartel, Alési, Puy-Forcat, JC Decaux, Fermob, very important name. And you are also recognized in the international landscape, and this career is just phenomenal. Now, what I would like also to say that what we will be discussing today is you're doing many things, but share is a very important element of your career, almost like a milestone of the history of your career. And something that is clearly very important is to recognize that you being recognized on a monography, that means your story, at the Center of Pompidou. That was in 2009. And you also received the Compasso Doré Prize for the pasta pot. This was in 2011. And then you also had some very important creation today in some places like the MoMA in New York. And we will be discussing more about that because this chair is a very important, I will say, turning point, tipping point, and justify why we're here today, discussing about this new creation that is on the playground. Do you have, by any chance, someone? That's us. We prepare a few slides to actually very, very, very little sample of what Fermob, very important moment.
97. And here
there's a 98, but it's probably being edited.
Yeah. It's a foldy. It's an old project, but it's the idea of folding. It's an obsession for
already
me.
There. Already there.
Yes, it's old. And here it's for Cassina. It's called Mabel chair, and it's the chair of the president, the French president. He's sitting on it
at the Élysée
every day. So I'm very proud of it. And this is the solid chair, the first. Printed, 3D printed in one time.
So let's stop just on that particular chair. This chair is been in every memory imprint of designers. When you start design, this chair just like come as being the tipping point where you stop designing a model and starting to consider machine in the process. This is the solid C2 It's being exposed in the MoMA and many other museums. So printing chairs, folding chairs.
Yeah, it's it was, of course, it was an amazing moment for me when I discovered this 3D printed possibility. Very often I just say I was like Alice in Wonderland when she opened the little door and behind you have a whole garden, new possibilities. And your first peek at this, it's, wow, it looks big, it's amazing. And after you go in, and you see that it's another world.
A world of opportunity.
Yeah, and it's endless, and you just have to discover it. You just have to go. But that means when you pass, you can't go back.
Yes.
Huh?
So I have to recognize that a lot of designers sometimes are reluctant to change their practice because they have to do this, in French words, lâcher prise, meaning that you have to basically accept to be back again to base one and relearn everything you may learn before.
Yeah. And so when we did this chair, I think we were very naive. We were just starting to understand the 3D, even modelization. It took us a month just to modelize the chair. We did it with SolidWorks. But just to modelize everything, there was no generative design at this time. Didn't exist. So it was just here, and I would say the passion and the hours and hours of work just to do everything. So, but since this time, this chair, this idea of research with this new technology, I will say from making, but also with the computer, with the machine. And I know that we have still so much to do that I am still trying, working, researching since then. And last year, we had this discussion. And because I know that we are using a small part of the possibilities.
Yes.
First, we have also a small part of our imagination. Very often as a designer, you start to design and you say, yeah, but I'm thinking of it, I'm dreaming of it, but I can't do it. How can I do it? Who can help me to do it? Is it really possible? Maybe not. No, and you stop. Very quickly you stop. And as you say, lâcher prise, that's what we did last year. We say, okay, we will keep on designing something that we really don't know how we will make it. Okay, but we have a dream. We want to do a chair. It can be anything else. It can be not especially a chair, but we will make an object which is very easy to understand for everyone, and we will make it very small. It takes the less space and less material as possible.
But if I go back to your obsession, your
another
obsession,
folding
yes,
one.
Obsession of folding, obsession of leveraging technology, and also accepting to update, basically like machine would do after you using the machine, the computer, the software, accepting that you are also changing and transforming your own practice.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a dialogue and mediation. It's no more about designers know, does the model, print the model. No, it's not about that. It's a real process of interaction, interfacing many data and the processing in your head.
That's what we do in architecture, also in design. It's always a dialogue, huh? A dialogue with someone who will make...
physical dialogue.
Yeah, there is always a dialogue. But it's true, when the project becomes pretty big, like in architecture, we are working with structural engineers. We are working the guy who are making all the HVAC system, the electric system, the flow of people. So it's a project complex with so many interaction that you need this discussion. When you do a chair, I would say it's more a personal practice, a discussion with maybe one other person, an engineer, but it's okay. It's more more, I would say, more cozy, more. But the new digital technology are so strong, so powerful. They are what they can give you as possibilities. That okay, I wanted to do something which will embrace things I don't understand. I don't know how to use them, and it was the project. I was frustrated with this one. I made this bench.
Actually, I remember when you sent the phone call.
Yeah,
you were at the Palais de Tokyo.
Yeah.
And you sent me this picture where you hold this.
Yes,
this
I
bench.
think I have a
think
picture
it's right
of it.
there, you know, with this transparency and showing me, you know, and say, and you know, I got this thing, but I think we can go further.
Yeah, we can go further. I designed this bench, so it's I call it voyage exploratoire au cœur de la matière. Wow, it's super long. Okay, so it's just like you remember the first movie of science fiction when you have people walking in cardboard decor. They are mimicking they are on Mars or they are in the moon. Okay, so I wanted to go inside. You know how a bone works? The bone has like two parts, a structure, and you have also cartilage, and the cartilage is soft, and inside the cartilage you have a cell who understands pressure, and when it understands that it needs more structure to be strong. Okay, so the bone is built like this. When you're born, the bone will be a few millimeters, and you will grow, and he will grow with you, and he will put the right structure where it's needed. So it's just nature. It's so beautiful.
By the way, it's not done just once. It's being imprinted our DNA.
Yes, exactly.
It's like a code, but a code that keeps learning every time, you know, a new human beings get the translation of if we stop, by example, using some of the aspects of strength, we may basically change the characteristic of the structure of our bone.
And change the DNA.
Et voilà.
Yeah. So I designed this bench. I wanted to make it super light. Okay, and so I make like a big bone. And inside I have the whole structure with mimicking the bone. But we just, like the Solid C2 chair, we just use generative, but we just place the material where we thought it was clever. And of course, I was sure there was too much material. The bench is around 3 kilo, can hold 2 persons, so it's pretty strong. But I knew I can do much better, and it was a part of the project.
And that's another obsession:
lightness.
Being lightness. The lightness, the research that you were also very keen in researching.
So we have two stories coming together. This idea of the future, it's to use less material as possible, to be like nature, really efficient, to try, okay? Because in a sustainable world, we have to be keen, we have to be careful with the quantity of material we use. So it's one thing. And also I have the technology of printing, and with the SLS, I have to take the less space as possible inside the machine. So I thought there was something that we can put together: less material, less space. So how to be super efficient?
And something. Because when we met, you told it. You say, I mimic the bone. I placed the lattice, you know, those structure where I thought they should be. And I told you, I say, why don't you are taking the learning process of a tool that can actually simulate exactly what would be needed coming from those science and generative design, CATIA generative design. And this is where really we started.
So we are super ambitious. So we are in the middle of our journey. So what we are presenting today, it's not totally finished. It's our first iteration, exactly, 4 months of research. But the potential is super exciting, and I keep on. I just want to finish the research. So we also use this base,
The platform.
this platform where we put our ideas, our drawings. We share with you, with your team, where we are. And there is this discussion, this dialogue we start. We are looking for images, for ideas, and this slowly they start to mix together.
I remember one particular thing. When we were on the table sketching, looking at those images, you came around this idea of tensegrity. It almost something that came from nowhere, from the back of your head, and say, I want to do something about tensegrity.
Yeah.
That was something that was really also
Yeah,
a demand from you.
Okay, when you look at just a ball, an inflated balloon with using the air, to make something
constraint.
hard, it's so interesting, so amazing. The idea also, it's we need to go on the moon. We need to travel far away, and we need to bring the object we will need. They have to take no space. So the idea is to come with just an idea of a project with just a few lines of computer code, and to print what you need wherever you are, and you can change it. Okay, but how can you be super light? And I was looking at this tensegrity form for architecture, but also for design. Just an umbrella. Also, it's just a superb object. Okay, using not so much space. The folding. And I was since then amazed with this idea. Okay, so all of this is mixing together,
Converging.
So we are here. We have a first sketch. I can maybe show you. Yeah, the first sketch. Of course, at the beginning there is no computer. There is just an idea, and there is just a drawing, a sketch, where we see this idea of something which folds like an origami. That's why the chair is called tamu, that you pronounce tamu in Japanese, and where you can. It's the ceremony of folding, and we don't know how many things we will fold, but okay, we feel that in this idea of a fabric, of a skin, that we can fold, so it will take not so much space in the machine. At the same time, we will just put force on it and create a tension, so it can stand. So we don't need so much. And even the weight of the person who is sitting on the chair is a part of the process. So the first, after we are here, okay. So do we need the skin? Do we don't need the skin? Here you have all the system of folding, and we are giving this to the machine.
So this is very interesting because you said to the machine, but there are no machine. They are just men behind softwares and capacity. And that was another end off from your natural authoring in the process of design, is to accept that some other designers knowing how to use and talk to the machine that will be taking the requirement from you and ask the machine to do what you were expecting. Okay. And that participative process is also human and machine and multi-human, and that's very new in some ways for a chair.
What is changing, and I think it will change forever, is that you are using the intelligence of man and softwares to give you multiple choices. Before, you were doing them with your guts, your knowledge, your understanding of materials. Sometimes some materials are very hard to understand. Okay, carbon fiber, try to understand carbon fiber, it's impossible.
Actually, all natural materials require your own experience with them, because there are no things such... you have to learn their behavior by experience.
Yeah. We learned with cardboard, okay, so we're still, I would say, low-tech in our research.
And tape.
But just to try to understand how can we fold this, not easy. After, we can fold it, So already we have something which is pretty well done, okay? And you can understand it doesn't take so much space inside the printing machine, which is our first goal.
But it's not just folding. It's folding in a very graceful way.
Yeah.
It's not just folding.
Because we didn't made, the chair is not a square, it's not a cube. We made it like a chair, okay? So it's complex, the shape, because you have some degrees of angles. Okay, so all of this at the end create a chair which is complex to fold.
But I remember when you did the stool, the way just open and close, it's like an umbrella. It has some kind of a graceful gesture that is also part of the design. The pleat is not a function; it's a story.
Yeah, I like dance. So for me, it's important. The gesture when you use an object, how you will open it, how you will close it. It's a part of the, I would say, the beauty
experience.
and
We
the
call
pleasure.
it the experience.
The pleasure of using something. So of course we can make it maybe more simple, but no, life is like us. It's not.
So you were able to see if it's graceful enough in each of the try. You were doing all the try and look with the machine and say yes, no, a little bit more, a little bit less.
And this one was
that's another story.
Yeah, it's another story. It's all this idea of optimization, the quantity of material, and for me it changed everything, because as I say before, I was using your guts a little bit. The computer can help, but not. And here we are going to a territory where it's the forces of nature, the real one,
the performance,
who are going inside the material, and it gives you forms, shapes that you never thought.
Well, this is obviously the terrain or the territories of engineering. What was very intriguing is earlier Tom Main made a presentation and showing how slowly architecture was getting deeper and deeper to the integrity of the object. And I can see here there's just exactly the same trend where basically the design move away from maybe just pure guts to some places where you actually let the machine to define for you. Yet you didn't give up all to the machine there.
No, because after we have this result, we had many results, and we are trying to find which one is the right one for the whole story. But each piece, they are all different. And so now we can imagine our future with shapes that are just driven by the intelligence of form, of gravity, of forces, of an interaction between a material is what it is able to do and the shape. So at the end, we will have in front of us things we have not designed. And it's very interesting. We will choose. We will keep on choosing. But
the judgment.
Exactly. But the possibility, it's like the first time I used this kind of computer where they show you the force, and it becomes red where there is a stress. And so you see inside the material that, okay, you have a stress, so you have to put a little bit more here, a little bit less here. Here you don't need. But on a complex object like this, it's just enormous. So now we will have shapes.
Because this is not an object, it's not a form, it's a system.
It's a system, exactly. You can fold it. So after we are here, and after we took what the machine gave us, and we redesign it, we reclean it. So it's, I would say, it's not raw but the aesthetic of the raw was also very interesting. And here we have our base.
If I stop right here, what I thought very interesting, because this process is now systematic. We get what the machine is giving to us, and systematically we are trying to get our hands around again by some of the, I will say, the old principle of consistency, what our eyes is accepting and not accepting, because sometimes science is delivering something unacceptable for our eyes, for our willingness to consider this is a good object or not a good object. So what is quite interesting here is how we are not getting to a new level of style, because basically you are not defining the form, you are collaborating with the machine, and it's maybe a new era, a new style. That means style connecting to what is coming up in the society as becoming, you know, we see this chair, they may all look like this in the future.
The technology has always forced the designer also, because you want to use the technology at its maximum. So the aesthetic created by this new material, it can be injected plastic, it can be the polyester, it can be the bent wood or the bent steel. Every time it has created a new aesthetic. And of
so
course,
don't you think we're just doing this right
exactly,
here?
That's, I will say, when I look at my solid C2 chair that I did now a few years ago, all of this was more an aesthetic approach. I'm sure we used so much material and we didn't need everything, but we modelize everything. Here, no, it's different. It's the shape is produced by the force of nature.
So it's a participative work, a collaborative work of man's and machine altogether.
Exactly, man's, machine, and I will say almost common ground, gravity. It's just something you can't. It's here. You will not. Of course, if we do the chair for Mars, it will be different because the gravity is different.
Yeah, we maybe try to parameter this chair for Mars.
Exactly.
With less gravity,
Yeah.
it may look different.
Yeah. And after the other part, which is the top of the chair, so the idea is that they will be even more and more together in terms of shapes and forms and function. But at this time, we use this idea of a mesh. I want it to be super light, so and to sit just and to have the breathe, okay, because it's very comfortable, something which adapts to your body.
Well, you told me right at the beginning, you say, we're going to do a printed fabric.
So it's not the first time we print a fabric. Us, yes, okay. And so it was just amazingly difficult to do it, of course, because the void in between the chain of the element, we didn't know exactly how it will react. So it's not perfect. But imagine we can have a chair made of a mesh, made of bones, totally foldable, printed, and you can see when it's folded, it's really not taking so much space. And I know we can reduce it.
I think we can do better.
We can reduce it.
Yeah.
And to be this, we have to put it also in the machine in the optimization system, and at the end to be the mostly transparent and light as possible, and to generate something which is in our head, which is this fabric that was a few years ago just impossible to modelize. It was too complex. You can dream about it, but you couldn't make it. And
but the constraint helps actually to know exactly what are the right choices to make. You know, this micro, discussion we had earlier also about getting this same pattern, changing, depending of the needs of creating the strength for the.
When the fabric is coming near I would say the bone, the structure of the chair, It becomes thicker and smaller, more material. When you need less, it's more open. So we came up with this triangle system, link with the triangulation of the chair. So I would say they can speak together. And this 3D effect, so I really want to work on this idea of a foam. For me also, it's the future. Usually when you do something like this, you make a compound of different material. You will have a foam, you will have a rigid plastic for the structure, and so you will have, even if at the end they are the same material, maybe they can be plastic, but they are totally made and produced in a different way. When you can go to the idea of microscopic, with the printing machine, you can introduce this idea of say, mushies, the cushion, in very, very small. And you can become very, very strong, and even like a bone with a structure inside to make it very strong and light.
This is a capacity to actually design to a microscopic level and going back to the natural eye, human level or big. And that's what the tools provide you.
Yes.
And this is really this Alice
it's
garden.
Really new. It's really, and I know it's...
And it's not really rocket science. It's just a viewpoint.
No, because usually when you design an object like this, you are looking at a certain scale, okay? And your eyes will go at the millimeter or half of the millimeter, and that's it. That's where you stop. When you inject a chair, you are at 0.1. It's pretty precise already. Here, you can go. We can go. Yeah, there is still a limit, but there is like no limit, and so we can introduce, I would say, intelligence in a project which is just a chair. Okay, usually it's all this intelligence will go for a car or for a cell phone or for, okay, you have it's amazing what you have here. Now here, with just one material, it can be aluminium, it can be polyamide, it can be, we don't know in the future what we can print.
It's a very interesting question, because at the beginning we were just also considering the material for this chair. And we have to also have this dialogue with the way it's being fabricated and the selection of the material and the scale you are designing. So this is really a triangular approach that is very iterative, that just really provides incredible new process and new possibilities. But it's really not just like one focus, it's really this complex systemic approach.
Yes, so that's where you need the software. You can't do it by yourself. No. It's impossible. And also what we are trying to express with this project, it's the beauty hidden in this software, or the fact that this software can help us to be even more poetic, to go further in this poetic research of using this human intelligence on, I would say, the right side, the beautiful side of it. And every time I'm just a touch, because when we design this chair, we are using thousands of years of human intelligence. And every time I will put my pencil on a piece of paper, I am carrying this, like every designer in the world.
You feel all the designers up on the top of your shoulders.
The designer, the engineers, the research. And it's these possibilities do you feel more free? I feel more free, but at the same time, I want to use all of this at the maximum. Okay. And
so you're not free, because now you are opening up a completely new realm of possibilities. Yes. So you keep
when we are doing it,
in
say, we can do it like this and like this and like this. Of course, it's endless.
Yes.
It's a human thing.
I'm very surprised, because I remember when we started, we were really in the blue. Yeah. The only convincing is I knew some of the solution, SolidWorks, CATIA, generative design. We were able to actually address some of those things. But something we were not knowing either you or either me is the result.
Yes, which is very exciting because research means that you don't know where you will end up. We had this frame, of course, a few months of work all together, but it's exciting if you are really, it's blurry. Very often the project for me, it's like fog. Okay.
So this is really what makes the difference between basically designers and the rest of the world is we okay to go to the unknown.
Exactly. Yeah.
And comfortable with the unknown. Or
sometimes it's a little bit scary.
To be working in the unknown.
Yeah, but that's where it's, and you see the possibilities, you understand them while you are designing and using them because you didn't understand them before. I mean.
But you're not alone. Within the platform, we were together, physically, because we were looking at each other, working, but also we were having this platform. They were able to capitalize all along the way, every step in a way, what we're going on, making everybody up to speed about any development. This is also new for your scale. I mean, this is what the car industry is doing, but in your practice, it's quite a no situation.
And we are facing this problem inside. In the studio, we are 50, 50. And there are so many designers or architects who they don't know what their colleagues are doing.
So it's a missed opportunity to learn from each other.
Exactly, and it's complex. I have Marie-Caroline here who has installed the system. So we can share, but it's so important to share because some will work with plaster and some will work with 3D printing. Some will work with wood and some with steel, with glass. And people are coming, some are going, some new are coming. So all these experiences, we need to share them and so everybody can learn. And also just anyone in the studio can react to what we are doing and say, oh, I saw that, I think you are making this, we need to share. And so this tool is extremely powerful to share ideas and to share enthusiasm also.
Motivation and intention.
And so it was a...
Actually, it's been a very nice human adventure too.
Yeah.
Okay, now we are at this point, 4 months of work. You are presenting a chair in the Salon d'Immobilier that took you 3 years. I mean, so 3 years is a regular planning for a chair. I mean, it's pretty much the time it takes to make a car. For Renault. So what would be the best estimate for you for getting to some kind of a result? It could be a question I could ask to myself.
Yes.
I agree. 4 months, we already are arriving. This is the first mock-up.
Yes, the first one.
First part. So
it was printed last week.
So it's a tricky one, but now we continue. What would be the first next step?
So we already have studied the chair and all its weakness, the difficulty of folding, all the complexity of to be able to fold the 3D fabric inside the machine, which is very, very hard to do, and to make it also stronger, because for the moment it's too weak. So we have too much material and we are too weak. So of course we are able...
There are still some optimization, more optimization.
So it's 2.5 kilo, and I'm sure we can divide it.
That's the goal.
We can divide it.
And gaining in structure, in strength, losing weight, and maybe entertaining some even more further and far-reaching printing technology and different mix of materials. So we're going to continuing the adventure.
Yes, we can't stop because it's the premises for me, of a new era. Okay, because where science, real science, because before what I was doing was more
approaching science, but not being
mimicking science, looking at nature and Nature, the magazine, and trying to understand how things are working. And after designing something here, we are really using science. Finally, for me, it's like almost 15 years after. Okay, so I'm very happy, and so I really want to make it perfect, so it works, and you can download the.
You're right, because the final result would be that this chair get adopted by a market, adopted by people. It should be a chair people want to buy, use every day.
Yeah.
I remember yesterday having people saying, "Oh, if this chair will go to March, I will take a glass of wine sitting on March with this chair." So we have still this, distance to close.
But it's very close. Really, it's just few months of work, and
we are done. This will go to MoMA?
This I don't know. It's of course the C2 was the first chair.
But this one is the first one done with science.
Exactly. So we will see.
We'll see.
I really.
You're very humble and very modest.
I don't care.
But actually, this is the public who will decide. I have one more question. You are a very first adopter of SolidWorks. We have been using many other tools here. It's just a broader approach of the 3D Experience platform. So it's really what we're doing here is SolidWorks, then CATIA Generative Design, and we're also using some simulation, some of 3D Excite for the animation and so on. So is this considered for you also a big change from getting a software of choice that is really what you used to do for doing a model, moving to a broader, landscape of possibilities? Is this something that, as you practice right now, you're 50 people, something that you consider easy to access, or what did you discover during this process, more in terms of the adoption of solutions that are challenging for you, but about your people, about the or the projection of what you will be seeing your practice to evolve in the future?
I started to draw on my table, okay, like an architect, okay, and watercolor, and slowly 3D is coming inside our practice. Now it's deeply inside the practice. I would say on everyone's practice in the studio, even me, okay. At a low level, but this software are so powerful that they are a real tool to go further, to go beyond. We have in architecture we are experiencing spaces with design to avoid mistakes, to share the project with the other. And it's very important because to not make mistakes is important, okay? And so this new, I would say, the CATIA looks like more for the big industry for us. It was like, wow, this is a complex system, and maybe, no, we can use it also. So even a practice like us, needs now, because things, first they exist, first they are so powerful that we need them to design well our projects.
So it's maybe the younger generation, you will see new architect designers coming to your practice and say, oh yeah, where's CATIA?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's SolidWorks?
Yes, SolidWorks, normal. But,
no, it's CATIA, a no-brainer for you.
Exactly. CATIA is the new level.
Very good. Any question from the room and from the audience? Yes, please.
Thank you. We get very excited about the opportunities that generative design offer us. As a designer, and I'm thinking about a project like the next Rembrandt, for instance, do you think that we might get to a point where we can digitalize the creative process?
Oof.
So a few years out, you know, can we automate even the creative process in your opinion?
I'm going to have a very simple answer. As soon as it's digitalized, it's no more the creative process. It becomes a calculation, a computation of a process. I will let you access to that, but to me, a designer will always be trying to be creative from what is being given from the machine.
So for me, all of these are always tools. They are tools. So if you have a new tool, you have new possibilities. And so it will, if it can help you to make a project better, more interesting, more, of course you can use the tool. You remember when the first CNC machine arrived and they say, it will kill all craftsmen. They will not exist anymore. And it's not true, because now you go in every mill shop in the world, not everywhere, but they all now have a CNC machine to reproduce a Louis XVI fit. And now you can have this beautiful object in wood. So a new tool doesn't kill or doesn't destroy the process. So I don't know if we can digitalize poetry, if we can digitalize a process like this, and if it can help to make project better. I can see the power of design. Now we are so many designers in the world. And so I saw the level of design growing everywhere around me, from a McDonald's restaurants to, everything is better and better. It forces us to be even better. So why not?
I agree.
Well, thank you. That was a great question. We're almost done. Any burning question from the audience? Something? Okay, so it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Patrick.